Good morning. Good morning. Who is excited about today? Who's excited about today? We have more people coming in right now. Kelly's excited. Okay, do y'all remember, do you know what the topic's about? Who knows what the topic is today? Kelly does. Everyone else is just here because you love me. God, you guys are amazing. You're just here because you want to hear me talk. Okay. All right. I like it. All right. Well, today, here's the deal. We have a super special guest today. So, I would love, because we do have a special guest, I would love those of you that can turn on your cameras to turn on your cameras, because it does make us feel as hosts much more welcome. So if you can, we would greatly appreciate that. If you can't, I get it. But there we go. That's my plea to all of you today. So we have a super special guest, because I know that we are all in real estate, right? Is that true? Who here is in real estate? Yeah. All right. We're in real estate. Okay. So if you're in real estate, it might be possible that you might think, or you might have ADHD. Is that true? How many of you know you have ADHD? How many of you think you might have ADHD? How many of you, even if you don't think you have ADHD, could use some tips or some systems to help you stay more focused and more organized? I better get everybody's hands up for that one. Okay, cool. All right. So here's the deal. You guys, we have a super special guest today. So I have had the great pleasure, unfortunately, it's coming to an end very soon, only unfortunately for me, super fortunate for her. I've had the great pleasure of working with Kelly Pfisher for the last 4 years as my transaction coordinator. And I will tell you, first of all, I'm just going to give you a huge shout out. If you do not have a transaction coordinator, you must find one. Don't come to me and tell me that you can't manage your business and then tell me you don't have a transaction coordinator, okay? Because that's the first thing I'm going to ask you. So there's that. But side note. Second thing is, Kelly is one of the people, like she literally is the reason that my business has been able to move forward. Because I don't know, I mean, she can probably attest to this. I'm a little all over the place. Sometimes I have a million things going on. And for me, I tried to manage my own transaction at the beginning of the year. It's like, oh, cool, I'm just going to do it myself. I'm going to try to do it myself. I called her mid-transaction. I'm like, Kelly, will you save me? She's like, yes. Yes, I will. I can't manage my own transaction. Anyway, but not only is Kelly an awesome like business partner, business support, Kelly is also a coach, an ADHD coach who specializes in helping neurodivergent people use their unique skill set to master their business and master their life. How many of you want to hear some tools that can help you? Okay, so that is why I have Kelly here. She's got some awesome things that she's going to share with us. But also, like, you guys you're going to find out real soon. She's really funny. So she might crack a few jokes along the way. But also, if you guys have questions, just like feel free to ask, because she's a very conversational person. So with that, I will bring Kelly up.
Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Kelly Pfisher, and as Linnea said, I've been a transaction coordinator. I've been a horrifying number of things. I used to be a teacher, so I do love questions. But I personally have ADHD, dyslexia, dysgraphia, and sensory processing disorder. So I am neurospicy, so many flavors. But part of that, and part of being a teacher and a mom of neurodivergent kids, is I had to figure out what was happening. Because so many of the tools that this will help, use a planner. That does not work if you have ADHD. That requires executive skills that we don't have. And that is actually kind of what ADHD is. But before I start, for those of you that know you have ADHD, and then those of you that might, I know sometimes people are hesitant to say, oh, I might have it, or I don't know. They don't want to be claiming something that, they don't have. No one in the neurodivergent community cares if you have a diagnosis or not. It is such a long process, and the tools that are available will help you whether you have ADHD or not. So please don't feel like you have to have like a piece of paper that is a pass. And there's different levels of diagnosis. For example, my dyslexia, the doctor's like, yes, you definitely have dyslexia and dysgraphia. Do you want to go through the diagnosis process? And I said, well, to get the official paperwork. And she's like, you're an adult. It's kind of too late to help you with a lot of it. So I didn't bother. So there's different levels. It's more just information. And that's what labels are supposed to be for us, right? They're how we find things. So using ADHD as a label to look for tools, do it. Doesn't matter if you have it or not, do it, because there are so many things that are available. And whilst I'm not going to sit on here and give you guys a bunch of ADHD tools, I'm going to tell you about the best one that you have. It is your brain. And you may want to argue with me about that that's the best thing that you have. But it is, because there's a huge number of agents with ADHD. Like there's, this amount of the population has it. And then there's agents. And it's, y'all, it's most of us. Because our brains are wired to succeed in this kind of field. We're great at solving problems. We're great at having high energy when we need to. We can hyper-focus on something. There are amazing things that we're able to do that make us great agents. And then there are things that make being an agent really, really hard, which is why, as Linnea said, transaction coordinators are just, I'm a fan and I am one, but, well, I'm not going to be anymore. I'm going into compliance. But that's really helpful because you have these amazing things that you're great at, and then you're also going to have things that you're not naturally good at. That's okay. Like, you don't have to be good at everything. You can outsource that and focus on the things that make you shine and successful. So use those tools. But what an executive function is, and hold on, I'm going to, it's not going to let me post all these.
Hold on. I think I have to make you, do you want to share?
I'm going to put something in the chat, actually.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to put, these are your executive functions. So terms are great, but only if we can remember them, which is not always easy. So I'm putting in here, there's 12 of them, and it didn't want me to put in too many words. So I'm just keeping the system. And it's too much. I don't even care. All right. So these are your executive functions. Everyone has them to a certain extent, and we all have weaknesses and strengths. Now, what ADHD actually is it's a deficiency in multiple of these that has a negative impact on your life in more than one way. So personal life, social life, like I'm always forgetting the dates, like people's birthdays. I almost forgot my birthday this year, yo. Let's just sit on that for a hot second. But there are systems that you can do, because despite the fact that I almost forgot my own birthday, I did not forget to tell Linnea to turn in her 35R or any of those many things that's my job, is remembering dates. Do it because there's tools and skills and ways you can buffer that. So I'm going to quickly kind of go over what these executive skills are. I want you each to be listening. You're going to think things are like, damn, I own that one. I am super great at that. And there's other ones where you're going to be like, yeah, I don't qualify as a person on working memory, just in case you all like, I'm like not at a human level, and that's fine. Because what we do is we take the things we're bad at and we cover up the things that we're good at. We are really strong and we can augment it. So when you look at these things, what you're good at and bad at is going to tell you what tools will actually work for you. So I'm going to quickly kind of hit these, and I want you to be thinking to yourself. So, and these are all really important in real estate. So emotional regulation is the ability to manage your emotions to achieve goals, complete tasks, or control and direct behavior. So when you have a seller or a buyer that's being a total jerk, it's the ability to just not offload on them or be really honest. Wow. So the ability to control your emotions. And that's one that shows up a lot. Kids that do get diagnosed when they're kids because they like throw a chair at someone when they're spicy. I have a very spicy daughter. So then response inhibition, kind of related, but it's the ability to have an impulse and then not automatically do it. It's like, I'm going to think about this for a minute, make sure it's a good plan. Working memory is one I don't have. The ability to hold information in the mind while completing complex tasks. So you're going through a house, you're doing a showing, you're remembering square footage, you're remembering, the yard size, you're remembering the HOA stuff. It's keeping all that data in there whilst doing the complex task of getting the person through the home and doing all that stuff. Task initiation. It's the ability to begin projects and activities in an efficient and timely manner, with not procrastination.
Hey, Kelly, I'm sorry. Do you have a slideshow that you wanted to share?
I can share one with you that the one I have is actually just too long,
Okay.
but I can give you a link to it or email it to you, and I will put my information in the
Chat. Thank you.
no problem. I have so much resources, y'all. Go on my website. Flexible thinking is the ability to revise plans in the face of obstacles, setbacks, new information. You get the home inspection. Something's really wrong. You can solve that. If you have flexible thinking, you're not pulled over. Organization is organization. It's the ability to create and maintain systems to keep track of information and materials. Metacognition is thinking about thinking and sort of assessing where you are and how you're doing and how to improve. Sustained attention is the capacity to keep paying attention to a situation or task in spite of distractibility, fatigue, or boredom. Time management, I don't have that one, is the capacity to estimate how much time one has and how to allocate it and to stay within time limits and deadlines. Goal-directed persistence is the capacity to have goals. So you I am going to do my marketing. I'm doing it. I've got this plan. And it's to actually follow through with that and not get distracted by other really good plans. But you're going to get through that whole goal. And then stress tolerance, which we all have to have in real estate, is the ability to thrive in a stressful and unpredictable environment. So you probably heard ones that are great and you're like, yes, I have that, and other ones that aren't. And these are all things that can be improved. Some of them, if you have poor working memory, I'm sorry, there's not much that can be done. That's a brain thing as far as making your brain work better. But you don't need that because we have paper and pens and filing systems and ways to store the information externally. So if you realize what you're struggling with, so if you find one of those things, like the one that you're not, and that's fine. You can actually improve that because my lowest score used to be organization. And I'm a TC and I'm going into compliance. Organization is what I do. I teach people how to organize. And so it's a thing that you can grow if you're able to find the right tools. So it's not going to be the thing that, get a planner. Planners require multiple executive functions and they don't always work, except as projectiles. You can throw them always. That always works. But you need to be able to say, what are my strengths and what are my weaknesses and find what works for you. And it's okay if the ones that work for you aren't the same ones that work for other people. So I'm seeing a little bit, sustained attention. That's hard. I also want to say something, and a lack of an executive function is not a moral failure. And it is not a moral failure. You are not a bad person. You are not a less person. It is not your fault. So I'm just going to throw that out there because a lot of us has been told something different. It's not your fault. You're not failing. You're just different. You're succeeding differently at other things. So please don't carry around weight that you're not good enough. You're just different and you're going to be great at other things. I'm spicy. A lot of people who weren't diagnosed were just told that you needed to try harder, which, in case you're wondering, does not actually work. And so that's something that can often stop us from seeking help is just shame. So there's no shame in needing a little bit of guidance. So one of the reasons I wanted to point out that it doesn't matter if you have ADHD to use that label to find things is because as a community, the neurodivergent community, we've decided that we don't care what society says. And so there's been this sudden outpouring of us making tools for us, things that work. So this is the anti-planner. It's magic. And it's a tool made by people with no executive function. She has ADHD. And it literally has things like, it's how to get shit done when you don't want to. But it's, are you stuck? And it gives little a strategy for if you're stuck and why. And it helps you to find the tools that will actually work for you in that moment. So if you're stuck because you have perfection, like you need it to be exactly right, there's tools to help you walk through and just get started, to just start the thing. Task paralysis is a real thing. When you're like, I have to do it, I need to make this marketing video. I hate videos, just so y'all know. I don't mind being on here when y'all are actually here, but to videotape myself. So I avoid that like the plague. So I actually have to make steps. Like, okay, so I'm not going to think about it. I'm going to make it a smaller thing. Like I just have to set everything up. I'm just going to practice doing my hair or whatever. Like you can find ways to get closer to it and conquer that. Once you know what's actually holding you back, instead of just blind guessing in the dark or trying to push through it, which wastes a lot of energy. And I want to also say, when you need, I'm not very good at tact, so I'm trying to find a nice way to do this. We have to look at ourselves and honestly admit what we need to work on. And that's humbling because we so want to present to the world that we've got our stuff together and we can do this. But to really improve, you have to really look at yourself and admit what needs improving. And then have grace for yourself once you look at that thing that needs to grow and just walk forward and not get caught up in like the shame or embarrassment or I didn't want to think about it. But when we own what we need to work on and then we can grow in it, it makes a huge difference. And we're able to make those strides that we need to make. So look at yourself, look at these executive functions. And if you're of an analytical perspective, this book, it's called Smart But Scattered, which I honestly didn't read for like a decade because I thought that title was best book ever. But it is, it analyzes those executive functions and lets you know what things are going to be most likely to help you. Like my filing system is the rainbow. Legitimately, like Linnea knows this. I file by color because I'm visual. Dyslexia, dysgraphia, I'm not going to alphabetize that. I don't hate myself. So I'm going to use colors and patterns in my filing system, and that's what I do. Because that's how my brain is wired to work. And you can find something in what are your eyes drawn to? Do you look at a list? Do you love a list? Do you love things that are being in order and organized? Or you like things that are exciting and bright? Like this is my mug of highlighters to organize all my contracts and filing systems because my eyes are drawn to color and that brings me joy. So I'm going to go look in my filing cabinet to look for something and I'll find it because it's easy to find. Like Linnea had a really awful client once and their color was brown. It was brown because, it was, I'm going to use nicer words. So I give them brown or if I really like someone, they get like salmon, like a fiesta. So each person gets their color. So it's really easy for me to find them. And that filing system is not one you're ever going to learn when you go to like, I don't know, Pinterest. No one's like, pick your happy color. But that's what works for my brain. And so I do it. So things that will catch your attention or things that will help you get through something like the time blindness. I don't know if any of you guys have trouble understanding how much time you have and keeping track of that. And some chores seem super awful and it's going to take me forever. Like the dishes, I thought they took an hour, y'all. Thought they took an hour. 15 minutes. You like the whole kitchen. I had to put a timer up and I timed myself. And I was like, oh, I was wrong. That sounds so bad. And now it's like, I can defeat it really fast. And it changes your perspective because realizing it was the time blindness is what helps me realize I'm not gauging this correctly. I don't trust myself with time anymore. If it feels like it's going to take a lot of time, I put a timer out and I have like visual timers. That one tells me how much time is left. It beeps at me. And there's a lot of methods. You guys have probably heard of like the Pomodoro method for focusing and just do it for, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, and take a small break. Some of those were great for people. I don't want to be told when my 20 minutes are over. I want to just keep going on accident. So I don't use that for that. But there's a lot of ways that you can use the things that are around and modify them for your own brain. So what I would advise is your brain is your tool. That's what you've got to work with. Really take a look at these. I have no ends of books and resources. I'll love. If you're not a book person, Jessica McGabe is How to ADHD. And she has ADHD. And are you typing it in there, Linnea? So YouTube shorts, and they are massively helpful, addressing different tips, hacks, tools, things that have worked well for her or not. Honestly, explaining your brain to people any of my clients who come to me for ADHD training, that's like legitimately an assignment. Like you're just going to go poke around there, give yourself an hour, go down the rabbit hole. And that's also where I find a lot of videos to send to family members. My mom's as neurotypical as they come, like this perfect type A, wonderfully organized woman gave birth to me. And I've apologized several times about this, but she does not understand how I work. And she just spent my childhood going. And the videos really help explain that to people who are neurotypical, who don't understand. Like, no, I really genuinely can forget my own birthday. Like, you all think I'm joking, but I'm not. It's possible to do that thing. And it is possible to, make these little errors and forget things that are important, to be really, really excited about an event and they completely forget to go because you forgot it was Thursday. Like, my mom would say those things are not possible. And I was like, those are probable. That's just Tuesday. That's how it's going to go. So it really helps. The How to ADHD really helps explain to, she calls them brains, but the people who are, or parts, the people who are around us trying to understand, that we're not being jerks or doing it on purpose, but it's truly just the way that we experience the world. And another thing I think I am running out of time for, is for ADHD, a lot of us have sensory processing disorder. It is our brains legitimately, because of differences in dopamine, the planner is the anti-planner. Just saw that one come in. So if you go to my website, there's a resources tab and it has all the books that I love and recommend, like a little bit of why, and a link to Amazon to buy the book if you want to. Because we don't have time to search. As I say, sensory processing. So that's a very, very real thing. Light, sound, touch. Our brains actually process things differently and more quickly than other people's. We don't filter stuff out. And so you can get overwhelmed really easily. And having grace for that and understanding that noise is going to, like, I just had my roof replaced this week and it was so loud that I fell asleep. Which makes no sense, but my brain literally could not process that much noise. And my son and I both just turned off. We just fell asleep on the floor. Because we could not take in any more data. And you can get that overwhelmed or feel like I can't handle this much information. And it's okay to step away and come back when you're ready and not be hard on yourself, but understand that your brain is your tool and use it how it's meant to be used. And if you understand your specific brain well, you can use it better. So it is so weird to be teaching and not be able to hear you guys and see your faces all better. I will never get used to teaching them.
You can turn it to the view where you're looking at gallery.
I have it where I can see everyone, but it's still.
So you only see there's only 12 faces showing because a lot of people have their cameras off. So that's probably
okay. I'm not gonna judge. Mm-hmm. Some days you need your camera off, y'all, and I that because things happen. Does anyone have any thoughts or questions? And please, you cannot offend me or anything. I want to let you guys know. And if you have a question and you don't want to ask it in front of everyone else, I'm going to put my contact information in here.
I have a thought.
I have a question.
Great. Thoughts and questions. I love it. Okay. Who said I have a question?
I have afterwards. Yeah.
Debbie.
Who is that?
Debbie.
Where's Debbie? There's Debbie. Okay. I see her box. Okay. Debbie's talking. Debbie has a question.
I have analysis paralysis, I guess is what it's called. I will let my fear of overwhelm prevent me from getting started. And then it's absolutely not an option for me to start after I've already convinced myself that I'm not capable enough. I'm not worthy enough. I don't look right. I don't, all the things. So how do you get beyond all of that?
Great. Well, first of all, realizing that that's actually what's stopping you is hugely important. I think just understanding most of the time that the way that we feel in that situation actually has nothing to do with us. So, I mean, you're worried about feeling like you can't do it, but there's no actual evidence that says that you can't. The same thing with the videos. Like when I go to make a video, I can't tell you how many I just don't, because I don't like it. But it's not true that I'm not a good speaker, or I don't look good enough, or I can't do the video. Like, I'm a professional artist. I can make a video, but it's the fear of what other people are going to think. I think that gets in the way a lot, or the emotional barriers of past failures. So what I will often do is make the tasks smaller for myself. Like, I feel like I can't do this whole huge thing. That's overwhelming. I can't. It's task paralysis is basically what you just can't even start. You're just standing there. It's how I realized my daughter had ADHD. I sent her to clean her room, and I found her 20 minutes later standing in the doorway crying because she couldn't start, because she didn't know what to do. And so I make the tasks smaller. And there's Linnea, I told you about this tool too. It's Goblin Tools. Goblin Tools.
Yeah,
that's AI, and it breaks your list down, and it's freaking magic, and it's free. And so it literally, if you put in like, plan a lesson, plan vacation, plan anything, you put it in there, and there's little chili peppers on the side for your spiciness level. So I just spice that crap the whole way. And then it breaks your list down into tiny little things. So you didn't have to plan that list. You didn't have to do all the steps. It did that for you. And then you can just start with the smaller things. And that's easier to overcome the emotional barrier to a small thing, because it's just one little step. So that really helps me. And there's a lot more so the Anti-Planner is a great resource for that, because it's got little ones that are, if you have like decision paralysis, here's different tricks to make a decision. Straight up like rolling dice, and then you still don't have to pick that one. You realize that you wanted the other one. I don't know if anyone else has ever done that. Like, you can't decide, you flip the coin, you're like, no, I definitely wanted the other one. That's what I wanted. But just helps you realize, what you actually wanted. But that's a very real thing. I mean, start with that. You're not alone. It's real, it's common. And so that's massive. The Goblin Tools, my brain just doesn't work that way. Yeah, I know. It's magic. I wish they'd had that way back in the day when I was like trying to write lesson plans for a whole year. So, oh my goodness, packing and unpacking. When I recently moved, I straight up called my mom and told her, I need someone to boss me around. Like, just tell me what to do. I can't.
Yeah.
I said, I can't anymore. And that's okay. I felt my mom loves bossing people around. It is, oh, she's so good at it. And so I just outsourced that. I was like, no. And that was absolutely, she had so much fun. She was like, she was so grateful. She goes, it's so fun. It's like working with your dad, except you try. Like, Mama. But it's true. He's where I got the ADHD. So it has outsourced those things, and it makes a huge difference. And it's okay. People like helping. By the way, I have a friend who, she has OCD. Everything needs to be clean, and she has 3 kids. So that's not working out so great. And I hate organizing, specifically cupboards. I hate it. So we swapped. She cleaned out my cupboards while her kids and I were pirates in the backyard, and made an absolute mess. And she was fine cleaning it up, but we both were like, this is what we're not good at. Let's trade. And we had so much fun and got to both be great at what we did. We were moms together and had our strengths. Oh, I love the doom piles. We seriously do that in my house. We have the chuck it bucket. So the Facebook one where I got it was the bucket, but the chuck it bucket is when you've got the clutter around or a doom pile, and you just put it in the bucket, and I would tell my kids, you can't have your tablets until your bucket's all been put away. And if you just sort of do that every time you get up, or every 5 minutes or whatever we call it, let's do a tiny tornado. We all turn on the music real loud and run around and clean the house really fast. And making it kind of into a game or into a smaller section really helps. And if you're a doom piler, that's fine. Like, you can use that. Your doom piles are often, they're organized by a certain, so my desk today, this is today's desk. I have a file here that's like, oh, my papers are going to get messed up. So this is today's file. And then at the end of the day, I come and I'll actually go through it all. But if I'm going to put things in a pile anyways, I might as well just make a spot for it, get a folder. and then come back to it. Just knowing that you work that way is really helpful. And I do a lot of baskets because then my doom piles can get left out of the way. So I have, like, for my new job that I'm starting on Monday with compliance, I have all these little things, technology stuff I need. So I put it in a basket.
Kelly, we have a couple of really good questions. There's some in the chat, but let's go with Juliana first because Juliana's had her hand up for a minute. So it's Juliana, Sherry, and then there's a couple questions from Suma in the chat. So let's go to Juliana first. Sorry for interrupting you. I just want to get through all the questions.
If you have a loved one that you think might have ADHD, where do you start?
Grace and patience. You start first.
You're there too. We're a team, so
yeah. So, and it's very interesting when you're seeing someone struggle with something, and whether you have it or not. For example, I have ADHD, but my son's autistic, and so he's having a different battle than me, and so I'm kind of watching it go down, going, something's happening. I don't know how to help. Like, I had never had that problem in my life. Like, is this real? And so you kind of question that. So I would say just having the patience to say, like, what I would ask my daughter often is, she'll be struggling. She's very spicy. As I said before, she'll get upset. What are you feeling right now? Tell me the story of what's happening in your body, like the actual physical feeling. What you seem upset, like, walk through what they're processing to try and understand what that is. And depending on their age, sometimes the teacher might recommend you for screening and, getting an assessment done. You can also go through your doctor. The school system can be a minefield at times or amazing. So that just really depends on that. But I would say start also observing. So if you're wanting to start that journey towards getting assessed, write down the things you're observing and maybe ask them, like, hey, it looks to me like you're really struggling with this. Like, is that true? How can I help? And just try and get their story of what they are actually experiencing, because it looks very different from the outside. Like decision paralysis or task paralysis, to everyone else, it looks like we're just daydreaming, but really we're panicking because we know what needs to be done and we can't start. But outside, it looks like you're just going. And even though I know I do it, when my daughter does it, what are you doing? Because you can't see it. You can't see what's going on inside their brains. So I would ask questions, write it down, and look into, getting help and getting assessed. There's the videos for the YouTube one, the How to ADHD. Those are great for kids. We've watched them. And they really cross a lot of autism, ADHD. A lot of them are similar. In fact, ADHD, which is both, is more common than just having the one. So it really addresses a lot of the processing and challenges. And so if you keep saying, hey, is this what you're feeling? How can I help you? And helping them advocate for themselves is huge. So I would say start there. And there's a lot of great books out there. And again, on my website, I have for parents and for realtors, because those are the two groups I work with the most. And a lot of parents find out they have ADHD when their kid gets assessed. So they're like, teach your child these executive skills that you don't have. So there's a lot of resources there for parents and for people who are getting diagnosed very late.
Thank you. Okay, Sherry, what's up? How's it going, Sherry?
Thank you. I was just wondering if you could talk about medication for ADHD.
I am not a doctor.
I know, but
yes, that is one of the only really huge reasons it is good to get an official diagnosis, is because that is the only way you're going to get access to medication. It can be life-changing. I'm medicated. It can also be really challenging to get your medication right now. So there's that. But it can be incredibly helpful. And I think it's a great thing to talk to your doctor about. Sometimes there's stigma around it. And people say, like, you're addicted. I'm like, no more than a paraplegic is addicted to their wheelchair or crutches. Like, I need this tool. I don't have the dopamine that you have. Well, I had the dopamine. So ADHD, your neurons are there and they're connecting, and the dopamine's supposed to shoot across and it just wanders off, right? So that ADHD is dopamine that just wandered off. So I don't have the brain chemical connections that I need to function in the way that other people function. So I'm fine taking my meds. That's just what I need to be able to function. And I'm taking it for y'all. So you don't have to put up with the crazy that's going down if I'm not medicated, because nobody needs that many arts and crafts. So that's how I feel about it. There's a really great genetic testing that they can do now that will predict which medications you're more likely to do well with, which is huge. Because when I first started, it was shooting in the dark. And Ritalin and me are not friends. It did not go well. But Adderall's amazing. So, and that's just because that's what works for my brain. So instead of feeling like 500 people are screaming at me all the time, I just got like 5 people having a conversation in the background. It's nice. So I think it's a great option, and you should look into it if you are open to that. There's also a lot of vitamins and stuff that help a ton. If you're not comfortable with medication, there are other options. It can be a little more challenging, but some of us love a challenge. So to each their own. But I think it's a great thing to look into, and it's not as daunting as it used to be as far as finding a medication that works for you.
Awesome. Okay. The last question we had from Suma was, is procrastination related to ADHD?
Yep, it is. Often, a lot of it is like the decision paralysis, and it's great to kind of look into all of these executive functions. They're linked and they work together. And so sometimes so my working memory, the problem is actually short-term memory. And my brain does not have as many slots to hold information. That's it. That's my problem. So I just need to write stuff down. That's it. That's my solution. But for procrastination, different things are going to keep you from wanting to start. Different struggles are making what's starting hard. So that is super. I don't know a single person who has ADHD that does not procrastinate or didn't in the past. Like, I don't procrastinate anymore because I have an unholy terror of procrastination because of the things that I had forgotten or left undone. Like, you give me my term paper in college, I was like, I want to turn it in tomorrow because if I don't do it right now, I'll forget. Like, Linnea will attest to, if she needs to get an information, I'm like, Linnea, I need you to give me this paper right now. You need to do right now. And I will text her and I'll keep texting her until she gets it to me because I will forget, y'all. I am terrified of procrastination. And so it is such a part of it. But I would say, look at the other things on that list and see what you're struggling with. Or next time you find yourself procrastinating, write down why you don't want to do it. It's legit. It is actually your brain surviving. Like, if I tell you, you can go put your hand on a hot stove, you can go try that. Your brain won't let you. You cannot set your hand down on a burner. It can't. So when someone with ADHD is running into something where they just can't start, the same thing is happening in their brain chemically as someone trying to put something like put their hand on a burner. They can't because what they're trying to walk into is painful or embarrassing or impossible. And their brain is like, no. So that's when I just, like I said, make it a smaller task. Like, okay, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to turn on the burner. Or I'm just going to do this smaller piece to get myself towards that thing and acknowledging like that's your brain literally not letting you do something. And that's an example where I said, ask questions, because someone who does not have ADHD does not understand why you can't. Like, my daughter could not clean that room. She physically can pick up the toys, but she couldn't start. She didn't know where. And so that's very real and absolutely okay. But take a minute and look at what might be causing that. And then you can deal with the root of it. And again, I have so many books to read. I love to read. I don't know if it's like, my kids call this room the library. This is not all the bookshelves. I love books. There's a lot of resources that help address that because again, and it's embarrassing. So we all want to solve it.
Thank you.
Awesome. So much good information. Kelly, thank you. You guys, I put her contact info if you want to check out and get more information on a one-on-one basis. We're running out of time now. So I put her contact info in the chat. I'll paste it one more time. Kelly, I
go to the website. It has the resources. It has blogs. I strongly also recommend getting on a Facebook group. I put my favorite Facebook groups in there. Again, like I said, they don't actually care if you have your paper. No one's checking if you have a diagnosis or not. It'll often say, to join our group, it's a private group. Do you suspect you have ADHD? Yes. Okay. Check. Moving on. It's just to make sure that people are in a place where they're willing to understand and have grace and tolerance. And there's not someone that's going to be in there saying, you're the planner. It's a safe place for people to share tools. So I would say get involved, get in a community, use that label, whether you have it or not, to get resources to help you. So on the website or on my website, there's resources and everything's as linked as I can make it. And I even have an Amazon shopping list for office supplies that are ADHD friendly, like erasable pens.
Love it.
Changer.
Love it. Game changer. Awesome. This was awesome. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. I appreciate you. Next week, we have another awesome guest host. I'm doing a little bit of a change up for October. You guys are tired of hearing me, so I'm bringing on some of my favorite people. So next week, I have a meditation and mindset coach. And literally what she does is she helps you tap into talking about the brain. Okay. She helps you reset your brain so that you can start doing and accomplishing more. So she's a high performance meditation and mindset coach, and she'll be here next week. So everyone, thank you so much. And I will see
Which
you.
helps with ADHD, so y'all should show up.
There you go.
Because that's one of the non-medical
Thanks, Kelly.
treatments. Just saying.
Thanks, Kelly.
Bye.
You
Thank you. Thank you.
guys.
If you'd like more information or to get connected to the Agent Power Huddle, join our free Facebook group. This call was designed for the agents in our EXP organization, but open to any agent from any brokerage. If you're a guest and you're interested in learning more about EXP or our specific resources within the Agent Collective, reach out to the person who invited you to this call to get more info. Produced by the Agent Collective Media Network.